In what seemed like a scene from a blockbuster movie, the two factions, ready to fight to the finish, converged on the vicinity of the Wadata Plaza, the national headquarters of the PDP, defying tear gas canisters and physical altercation. Both factions insisted on having parallel meetings at the venue.
What we're doing today is to have a meeting to discuss the affairs of the party, and that's all we're doing. There is no convention. What you saw there was a pre-Christmas party, and of course, the governor of Oyo State also opened the motor park garage. We invited party members to come and witness the commissioning.
If anybody loses their life in this place, Shahima Kinda and Bala Muhammad should be held responsible. These people are violating court order.
Party chieftains and purported supporters of the FCT minister first occupied the neck hall of the party secretariat. However, matters escalated as soon as governors Sheyi Makinde and Bala Muhammad arrived and were denied access to the premises.
We are going through hell. Our party is being destroyed by people from inside, and the relevant laws were invoked to get them out. And we are here to inaugurate our leaders and look at what is happening. So we are not going anywhere, even if they will kill us.
I want to call on President Trump. What is at stake is not just genocide against Nigerian Christians. He should come and save democracy in Nigeria. Democracy is under threat. I'm calling on all other developed nations, all advanced democracies, come and save Nigeria.
After several hours of brickbats amid consistent firing of tear gas by security operatives, the Turaki faction seemed to have gained control of the National Secretariat.
Nigerians are living witnesses to the struggle we've been engaged in with those renegade members of our party that were expelled in our national convention in Ibadan. They came here with armed talks like we did predicted to disrupt our meetings. Now we have driven them out of the secretariat, and as you can see, I have entered my office. I've assumed leadership as the elected national chairman.
After several hours of power struggle, calm now returns to the Wadata Plaza, the headquarters of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, and with the Kabiru Turaki's faction finally taking over the party secretariat. What happens next in this unfolding political blockbuster? In Abuja, for News Central, Sumayya Abubakar.
Blockbuster indeed. I'm now joined by the Deputy National Legal Advisor of the PDP faction, loyal to Nyesom Wike, Oke Oswoha. We also have our correspondents who were on the ground at the party secretariat also earlier today, Sagir Ibrahim and the lady you just saw, Sumayya Abubakar. Thank you all for being here tonight. Sumayya, I will start with you. Walk us through exactly what you saw at the Wadata Plaza. When did the situation begin to escalate?
Good evening, Felicity. Yes, I would say that it started away from us, of course, making entrance into the Wadata Plaza. Now, what we saw was the fact that we were able to see the Samuel Anyao's, faction. We went up and were able to even have an interview with him. But on coming down, waiting, that was about 11 a.m., waiting for the meeting, we saw the entrance of the other faction, talking about Governor Bala Muhammad and Turaki's faction and Sheyi Makinde joining in. So they came, of course, with a loud noise, and that was when we started feeling the pain of tear gas around. So there was, of course, a lot of push back to gain entrance, not just gaining entrance to the entire premises, but gaining entrance to the hall. Now, that is where the main battle ensued, so we were able to be there. Immediately, they gained the access. We went in, of course, with them. So they addressed the press at that moment. But immediately after they, finished that address, or were still in the middle of it, they were able to deliver a chunk of their message, but then the Anyao's faction came in to also show and exert their own power and authority. So after a while, the whole place, the aim of it, I think the aim of the back and forth was to get everybody out of the hall so that nothing goes on, no neck meeting or BOT meeting from any of the factions. So that was in for a while. And then later on, we went outside the premises, which everyone was standing, around. Okay. And then they still called us again inside. But then it was still the same back and forth. We were able to show that on the 12 p.m. news, which we saw. We got that back and forth right in there. There was a lot of tension, not a bit of it, a lot of tension with tear gas even thrown inside the hall to contain the situation. So I would say that has been the back and forth that transpired, this morning.
Sagir, a lot of persons might not clearly understand what is behind all of this. Talk to us about, was it intentional, in the knowledge of the media, that these meetings were deliberately scheduled to cause what we saw today, or it was just a clash that was unexpected?
Well, good evening, Felicity. I would say that for all of us journalists who approached the headquarters of the People's Democratic Party, the Wadata Plaza, as it's popularly called, earlier today, our expectation definitely was that there's going to be some form of rancor. In fact, upon arrival there, and of course the ambience of the surroundings quite gave away what the expectation was going to be. We got there, and of course, armored personnel carrier was strategically positioned. Just by the gate, we saw an anti-protest water cannon, strategically positioned where, of course, it should be able to reach any individuals who decide to be unruly. We also saw police officers heated, some of them, of course, armed with their tear gas canisters, which, of course, they so generously pelted us with. So I would say, yes, upon arrival at the National Secretariat, there was some expectation that things were going to get ugly. Of course, this is not the first time that we've seen such happen, not even particularly with any political party, but the People's Democratic Party, itself. So yes, expectedly, there were some expectations that this was going to happen. Maybe we didn't expect it to escalate to the level that it did, but of course we expected some pushback, especially considering the fact that, the both faction had released circular announcing that they were going to have their meetings at the National Secretariat. For the Samuel Anyanwu faction and those purportedly loyal to Nyesom Wike, theirs was supposed to be a Board of Trustees meeting, which was supposed to follow with the National Executive Committee meeting. And of course, for the Mohammed Abdurrahman and for the Tanimu Turaki faction, which was elected over the weekend in a convention that the Samuel Anyanwu faction now calls as illegitimate. Theirs was to have their inaugural National Working Committee meeting.
Sagir, I think we have some clarity on that as well. Just a quick one for you, Sumayya, before you go. We understand there was also protesting staff on the other side. What can you tell us about their demand? Was it linked to salaries, restructuring, or something else?
I would say that in terms of, the protesting staff, there was no clarity of what, they want. At some point, it was a bit confusing on what part, this person is, until you hear the person, calling particular names to say, I'm going to, if I should see this person, I'm going to attack this person on a personal level. And that, it's a bit confusing on what is going on. So I would say we don't know the details of that, particular staff, what they want. But based on what we saw was a clear division and then group of members on ground where this person is just starting his own complaints and authority. And when you hear them, you tend to hear just by whisper of one name, that, okay, this one is from this for this faction and the other one is for the other faction. Basically, I would say that's all. But I have to point out that in terms of this particular chaos that happened, the both parties are saying the same thing, which is they want, a strong party that would align and bring the glory of the old PDP. But so far, I don't think what we saw was heading towards that right direction. But both parties, especially both factions, also emphasize that at the end of the day, they are going to achieve what they feel that PDP should be.
We have, I think I'll hold on to the two of you for a little longer. I know it's been a long day. Let's bring in Mr. Oke Osoha to give us his reaction to the violent scenes witnessed today at the party headquarters. Good evening to you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Talk to us about...
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I put a question to you, sir. What happened today? What is your reaction? What does the party have to say about today's drama?
Thank you so much. I think my reaction, my response to what happened today is, disappointment. I am disappointed, and the entire PDP members and stakeholders, the leaders of the party in the entire world, we are disappointed. It's embarrassing and unfortunate, because what actually played out today is lawlessness of some individuals who have decided to cause mayhem and to cause breakdown of law and order, who have not refused to obey the law, the extant laws of the land, and they refuse to obey the court judgments, because as far as I'm concerned, there was no convention. In the eyes of the law, what they purportedly heard that they had a convention in Ibadan was not a convention that they said that produced any national executive member. What they did in Ibadan was at a gathering, an assembly of friends and associates, just like some of our people described it as a Christmas party. So because the party actually, we planned a convention, but then the last NEC meeting before today's emergency meeting, there was a court judgment that came.
Okay, I think we have a bit of challenge with the network from Oswoha's side, but let me come back to Sagir and just ask about questions around the... Okay, can you hear me again?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
What to do? Because I know.
Network can be a challenge. We apologize for the static coming from that end. Sagir, let me quickly ask you about the reports that staff were being owed, internal fractionalization of the party affecting that payment. What is the implication for the staff of that Wadada Plaza?
Basically, I would say that if staff actually protested today, it would definitely have one way or the other fizzled out, and we all got to see that these staffs actually demonstrated in front of the Wadata Plaza on the news, reasons being that everybody was so focused on the activities that's been going on inside, that I would say not so many people actually saw or observed those staffs outside. If that was the case, then I would say I hope that their issues are addressed. But from what I observed from outside of the Wadata Plaza, most individuals who were there were either supporters of the purported Wike faction or supporters of the Tanimu Turaki faction. And these individuals were outside of the gates chanting solidarity songs, singing and dancing, of course, up until the tear gas started flying in the air and the police dispersed all of the crowd. I must even add that in addition to the police even pelting us with tear gas, it was really surprising to see other security personnel as well running away from the tear gas canisters. Say precisely officials of the National Security and Civil Defense Corps and even police officers themselves. It was really surprising to see the police officers shooting tear gas at fellow police officers who had to run and take shelter with journalists such as myself at the back, of the building, bringing to question whether the police were working in a silo or not. Yes, Felicity.
Yes, again, does that give the indication that a lot of persons have been suggesting that there is also faction in the police when it comes to the PDP matter?
As a matter of fact, Felicity, I would share in that sentiment specifically because of what I observed by myself. The tear gas canister started coming in even within the premises of the Wadata Plaza. So it's one thing for you to tear gas demonstrators and supporters outside of the Wadata Plaza, but within the premises of the Wadata Plaza inside of the neck hall, as Sumayya also confirmed. The tear gas canisters was not just pelted within the premises. Even those who were within inside of the neck hall got to even benefit, permit me to use that word, from the tear gas canisters that was being shared by the police officers. So I would say, whether you are a governor or you are an ordinary man in the streets, if you were at Wadata Plaza between 7 a.m. and 3 p.m. this afternoon, it definitely means that one way or the other, you either ran from tear gas canisters or you were affected by tear gas canisters that was shot around the Wadata Plaza area.
All right, Sagir and Sumayya, thank you so much for the coverage today.